Due to their unique builds, the Bol Bol and Wembanyama comparison is one that's here to stay, and with Bol Bol getting more minutes and more production, people will continue to ask the question, what can Wemby do that Bol Bol can't? Bol Bol's career up to this point has been all over the place, as he hasn't been able to find a consistent role in which he can grow into and master. The reason for this has been questioned, with some people believing that his work ethic doesn't match his potential or he doesn't play a team-friendly brand of basketball. But before his college season, the son of Manute Bol was projected to be a top 5 pick. So what happened? At 14 years old as a freshman in high school, Bol Bol already stood at 6 foot 10 inches due to the genetics passed on by his father Manute Bol, who stood at 7 foot 6 and played in the NBA for 10 years and led the league in blocks in 2 different seasons. Manute Bol passed away in 2010 when Bol Bol was only 10 years old, so he never got to see him play high school, college, or NBA basketball. After displays of shot blocking and shot-making abilities, in 2015, Bleacher Report was already comparing him to Kevin Durant, one season after KD won his MVP award. After playing AAU ball, Bol was classified as one of the top players in the 2018 high school class and got a scholarship offer from the Kansas Jayhawks in the spring, but it was in his junior season where he really took forward strides in his game and ranking. He transferred from Bishop Meade High School in Kansas to Mater Dei High School in California. Mater Dei is a historically good private school when it comes to high school basketball, producing several NBA players, including Stanley Johnson, who won 4 straight state titles at Mater Dei. In Bol Bol's debut for his new high school, he scored 21 points, as well as grabbing 10 rebounds and 3 blocks. In this same season, Bol Bol and Mater Dei beat the reigning champions Chino Hills High School, a team that featured the number 3 and 5 pick in the 2020 NBA draft, LaMelo Ball and Onyeka Okongwu, and the leading scorer in California at the time, LiAngelo Ball. Bol Bol recorded 14 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks, giving that Chino Hills team their second loss in 2 years. During this season, he picked up offers from Oregon, Kentucky, UCLA, amongst others, and was labeled a 5-star recruit by ESPN. Not only that, but he was declared the 4th best player in what was considered a stacked high school class, behind Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, who all committed to Duke University. In his senior year of high school, he transferred to Findlay Prep due to family reasons, and shortly after he committed to Oregon. After an outstanding season, he was selected for the 2018 McDonald's All-American game, but didn't play due to injury. At the same age, Wembanyama was also a highly touted prospect, internationally becoming a pro at 15, playing in limited minutes in the French league, but by the age of 16, he was already being compared to NBA players like Rudy Gobert due to the defense, height, and French connection. But also, similarly to Bol Bol, he was compared to Kevin Durant due to his ability to score the ball off the dribble. He was projected to be the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft all the way back in 2019. Which shows how hyped of a prospect he was at such a young age. Wemby was given a more advanced role in his last year overseas for Metropolitans 92 and averaged 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game, guaranteeing him the number 1 pick. Bol had a completely different story. Going into college, Bol Bol was projected to be a top 5 pick, but at the same time, he was seen as one of the most polarizing prospects in the draft. Some scouts saw him as a franchise changer the same way they saw Victor Wembanyama coming into the draft, with his length and ability to score the ball in a multitude of ways, whilst having an uncapped defensive potential. However, for Bol Bol, there were other scouts that saw him as nothing more than a rotation player that can come off the bench and add a different dynamic to a team. In the 2018-19 season for Oregon, Bol only managed to play 9 games, where he averaged amazing numbers of 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game, shooting 57% from the field and a jaw-dropping 52% from 3. But, with a small sample size, this gives NBA scouts more reason not to select you than to select you when you are such a polarizing prospect. There were many questions surrounding Bol's motor and focus at Oregon, and whether or not basketball was a priority for him. And because of this, his draft stock began to tank drastically. Bol had a decent pro day, which gave people the belief that his stock may rise again. But when the draft came, this was not the case. Originally viewed as a top 10 pick, Bol didn't get drafted until the second round with the 44th pick to the Denver Nuggets by way of the Miami Heat's draft rights. Being drafted by the Nuggets could have been looked at from two perspectives from Bol. The first being that he gets to learn from the best in the NBA like Nikola Jokic in order to see how he can approach the game and what areas he needs to work on. But the reality of the situation is that the best way to progress in the NBA was through playing, and with the Nuggets looking to compete for a championship, Bol spent most of his time in the G League. He made his NBA debut on the bubble where he scored 5 points in 11 minutes, but didn't contribute much after that. In the next season, Bol was traded to the Detroit Pistons, but he failed the physical fitness exam, so the trade was voided. Bol did not get any real opportunity to prove himself due to a combination of injuries and inconsistencies until his 4th year in the league when he joined the Orlando Magic. He was first traded to the Boston Celtics in January, but before he was able to even play one game, he was traded to the Magic for some draft picks. In his first game for the Magic, he scored 10 points and grabbed 6 rebounds against the Pistons, which was 1 less point than his career high in his previous 3 seasons in the league. 3 games later, he dropped 19 points against the Knicks in 20 minutes at the Garden. In the 2022-23 season, he had 14 games where he scored over 15 points and 6 games scoring 20 points or more. In the previous 3 seasons, he had no such games, which made people believe that Bol Bol had finally found his home in the league with a young up-and-coming team in the Magic. He ended the season with averages of 9.1 points and 5.8 rebounds. With that being said, people were surprised when Bol was waived at the end of the season after not being able to guarantee Bol Bol's $2.2 million contract. He was, however, picked up 2 weeks later by the Phoenix Suns on a 1-year deal. Life of the Suns for Bol has not been what he expected, looking for a role similar to the one he had on the Magic as a player that could create a unique spark from off the bench, especially playing with the player that he modeled his game after Kevin Durant. But he has seen minutes similar to the ones he was subject to for the Nuggets. In 35 games into the season, Bol has only played 10 games, and in those 10 games, he has only played 10 or more minutes 3 times, all coming in the last week. In those 3 games, he scored 14 points in 18 minutes, 11 points in 19 minutes, and 4 points in 10 minutes. He has clearly shown the ability to be effective on the court, but with there still being questions about his ability to fit into a system as a winning player and his lack of drive, it might be a while before he plays the Wemby role. For Wembanyama, he has had a more positive start to the NBA from an individual perspective, averaging 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game, which are astonishing numbers for a rookie, especially when the overall nature of the team is in disarray. The Spurs, who have a history of winning, are in rebuild mode with Victor as their centerpiece, and the rebuild is evident as they have only won 5 games. But as soon as Victor gets a decent team around him with a solid point guard that the Spurs desperately need, he is clearly on his way to be an all-NBA player.
Hey, what up, my boy going crazy?
It's a Bol world, man. It's a Bol
One of a kind, man, one of a kind.
Freakazoid in the building.